But yeah, this is pretty much like how it all goes.
This is cool. We have the same book, by the way.
Which one?
The Rick Rubin.
Oh yeah, that was a gift. That was one of like my favorite Christmas presents. So I'll take that actually. Yeah, just kick it. I honestly, these things were super cheap.
These the Temu lights you were telling me about?
Kind of, yeah. Amazon, Temu, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Kind of, yeah. But I mean, hey, they work, and they're magnetic. So I'll take what I can get, man. A win's a win in this world, So. And honestly, too, it's like a good light. Like I've used it on a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But like I'm always literally just doing, it's a one-man band kind of thing, So
I remember when we were doing Abaddon, and you were super excited about the $3 light that you got.
That thing is legit. That thing has saved me more often than not. I actually used that recently on that music video shoot with the clowns.
Did you really?
Hardcore Hoedown, yeah. Because we needed a little bit of fill on the seat, When he sits down, you'll see it. There's like
I've seen it.
Yeah, there's I showed you, but you'll see the finished version. Yeah. Because what I showed you is like final, but like it's not the finished one completely, So
it's fucking good.
We were tinkering. Thanks, man. Yeah, we were still tinkering with it for a little bit, But anyway, so yeah, this is pretty much the setup,
This is cool, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's definitely, I like doing this thing. It's, it's a work in progress still. But I think, I'm almost 15 months at this point on this little project. So.
The podcast?
Yeah.
If it's not a work in progress, then,
What are you doing? Yeah, exactly. No, I know. But I mean, that's the nature of the game, and I'm trying to get I need to get a GoPro for that camera, so I'm not using my actual camera, and then my phone actually just kills it. Like it packs a punch. So
that's awesome.
It's a good setup. Yeah, it's a real solid setup for what it's worth. And I'm still when I have, sometimes I'll close the door, sometimes I'll leave it open, Do
you want to?
Sometimes we don't have to. I mean, because the way I'm gonna tailor all this anyway is kind of like moving stuff around, cropping it, and so yeah, it's definitely it's not you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's perfect in the sense that it's not perfect, but that's why we do it, because we're trying to talk about the film industry and how we do what we do and why we do what we do. So, but no, it's good to have you on finally.
Dude,
yeah.
This is really cool.
I'm glad you like it, man. So.
I've been a fan of your work for a long time. So to be on your pod is...
Thanks, man. Yeah, I know. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just like having fun with stuff that I like to do. Nobody wants to do this that I know of. Because I know people have stuck with it or done it and quit doing it. No one that I know has stuck with it doing it.
Yes.
Independently.
Yes.
Because that's hard, apparently. I mean, I don't think that it's hard. It's just time consuming.
Yeah, you're not doing an episode every week. You're doing an episode whenever you find somebody, or
it's become every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's fast.
Ish. 2 weeks ish. I mean, I'm running out of things. I'm running out of people.
I got you. I'll find some people for you.
I have I have a few on deck. It's just trying to find time to record them.
Yeah.
And because the whole thing about this is that nobody's really famous. It's just we're working on it. so it's just trying to get and then finding time myself to do it, coming up with a schedule myself, but also I usually release them on Fridays, but that's changed because no one really listens anyway. So
it's Wednesdays, right? Wednesdays are the top.
Sometimes it just depends. I know Marin does Mondays and Thursdays. Some people do Fridays. Some people do Wednesdays. I honestly don't know. I couldn't tell you. I only know what I'm doing, which is throwing darts at a wall, seeing what sticks. You know,
that's all you can do.
Yeah.
And it's another tool in your arsenal of.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. It keeps me entertaining. It keeps me busy, and it's just like once I figure out like a good formula with the cameras, and I have them like just side by side instead of like across the friggin' room, But like it doesn't really seem to affect the quality that much. Because again, I think the majority of the time, like when people are listening to it, or it's when they're like doing other things. Mm-hmm. And a buddy of mine was like, well, I usually listen to your podcast when I'm like doing yard work. And I'm like, oh, that's nice. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh, that's cool. I'm glad it's not putting you to sleep. Yeah, right. Exactly. That was one of my biggest fears. Is like, it was too much like NPR, like.
I've fallen asleep enough to NPR. Your podcast is not NPR.
No, yeah. I mean, that's good to know because, and the people that I'm talking to, they're all just like us. Trying to make something happen. Yeah. So we all lament,
It's so hard, man.
I'm tired of talking about how hard it is, though. Yeah. Like, I feel like it used to be super easy.
I thought that it was. But I also had a skewed view of the industry when I first started.
Was it like naive, like just being naive, or what?
Like I thought graduating from high school, I was going to be the best director of all time, and then, I was going to be able to work, and it would be easy
because that's the bullshit that you see. Yeah,
George Lucas and his friends made Star Wars.
Robert Rodriguez sells his body to science. Yeah,
did he really?
Well, yeah, you know that story.
I don't.
What? He wrote a book about it.
I didn't read the book.
Rebel Without a Crew. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, no, he wrote a book about it. Like, he basically, he like to fund his early short films and all that stuff, and El Mariachi. Okay. He basically, like, sold his body to science, but what it really was he was it was more like just, like, testing for, like, pills and stuff like that. That's like, still scary, what would become, like, certain things, so... But yeah, no, he walked out pretty, like, he also casted people like he was working with in that testing in the movie because he was just talking about it nonstop and they thought he was crazy. But, he ended up getting like, I think it was like $7 or $8 grand at the time in like 92.
I remember,
yeah,
it was
something like that.
A really low amount of money to make this film. And then he developed the film in his bathtub with...
Right. And that's what you're told... Yeah, that's the success story, right?
Yeah, what they don't tell you is with inflation, that's about $4 grand or $100 grand or whatever it was, or whatever it is. But
I know, the whole thing is just. But yeah, I mean, no. So yeah, and then because what year did you graduate high school? Like when? Because I think we were around
07.
Okay, yeah, because I graduated 08. Yeah. So yeah, we're around the same time frame. So okay, yeah, no, I feel you on that one too. When you were in college, though, did it feel like with the advent of DSLRs that it became like a whole new world opened up?
Yeah, DSLRs were. It's weird because nobody was using DSLRs to make movies. It was like a video feature on the cameras, and then these movies came out like Open Water,
right? All these weird, they gave them
not paranormal, the one Blair Witch. Well,
that was like before. That was like still mini DV.
Oh, was that mini DV?
Yeah. I mean, because like that was still when we were in like middle school.
I remember going to Costco and getting mini DV tapes.
Yeah, I have a whole stack of them too. I would shoot bands with the mini DVs though, but the problem was that like it was such a nightmare transferring those.
Oh yeah,
because you needed like a FireWire cable,
and you needed to play the tape all the way through. Yeah, in order for it to go through.
Yeah, because DSLRs came out in 2011.
Yeah. Shit. Wow.
I know.
Yeah, that's
and everything else after that was so fast. Like, you know what I mean? Like between that and everything else afterwards, it's just pretty bizarre in how quick it just goes.
I remember everybody that I knew that was a filmmaker wanted to make films with their DSLR because of these movies that were coming out. It's the same iPhone craze that we have now or had.
I mean, we're shooting on an iPhone right now. I still think that it works.
It really works to an extent. It works to an extent. You know,
You're not crazy about them?
No, I think that it's great, but you can't. If you're going to shoot on a Red and then you're going to do pickups with your iPhone, you're kind of like, all right, you can get it for a quick shot.
Okay, sure. Yeah, no, I mean, you can only use the iPhone in like small doses. Yeah, I do believe that for sure.
And as soon as you build up your rig, it's about the same price as a regular camera.
I know.
So
I know it's all a bitch and a half, isn't it? Like, it's so funny because on one level it's just like, oh, well, it's a new tool. You know? I mean, that's how I see it. Like, if you need to shoot in like a bar or something, you could do that, you know? But I mean, I don't know. I'm shooting a weird experimental thing with it right now. Aside from this,
there's nothing wrong with it. No. It definitely has a look to the iPhone. I think of like really sharp contrast. I think like high definition, sharp edges, but it doesn't have that filmic type look. At least not yet.
I know what you mean. Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
It looks like an iPhone, and you can interpret that however you want. If that's good or bad.
Sure.
When we were filming my short film Choice, and we needed to do pickups right before COVID hit, we did pickups on my phone.
What kind of pickups were you talking about? Like,
there's a shot where the car is driving onto the highway, and it was crazy. So
you did a lot of interesting VFX work in that short.
For my short or for
Choice. Or was
it? There was a ton of VFX.
Like sky replacement.
No sky replacement, but there was color added.
I remember little things that you guys did and thinking, oh, wow, that's an interesting, why would you choose to do that?
Yeah, there were a lot of...
but it's like enhancements, right?
To an extent.
Yeah.
I think if one of our actors was not as prepared as we would have liked, and no, I mean, he had a lot going on, and I credit him for making the work, for doing the work and being there. So it became like, okay, we really need to get these shots. We want to take their time. We want to find the best performance. And so it limited our coverage. I think all the performances in it are good. And we won Best Actress at Oregon Short Film Festival. So
was this the same one that you're?
Yeah. So
okay. We can talk about that later. We'll talk about that. Yeah, gotcha. I got you because it's starting to sound very familiar. You know. So,
but filming the short, we had no money. I mean, we needed to figure out ways.
Did you shoot it around here?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Our establishing shots were in Lancaster, and our close-ups interiors were in Valley Village.
And you said you of course, going in bare bones, nothing.
Oh my God. Yeah. So our DP, Kevin Kissling, was awesome. He figured, okay, we don't have money for a car rig. Let's find roads where the sun is coming through the window at the right angle at the right time.
Oh my God.
And that's how we got our shots.
Oh my God. How long did it take you to find those locations though?
I mean, we knew,
really?
Yeah. I mean, Seven, right? The movie Seven? David Fincher?
Yeah.
So we just went online, or I went online, and I was looking for the locations that they filmed. And it's like, that's exactly the look I'm looking for.
No
Great.
shit.
Okay, there it is.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Huh. So, but it was pretty local for the most part, right? Just over the 14, like over the hill and everything.
Yeah.
Like our
Palmdale,
pickups, Lancaster, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, our pickups were not exactly. I don't think it was all the way in Lancaster. We just kind of got off up the side of the road, and we were filming that way.
That's the best way to do it.
It was,
honestly, just steal it if you can.
Everything that I do is like stolen. It's crazy,
as it should be.
I mean, I wish I could afford the permits. There's a reason why productions are leaving California.
Oh my God. Well, we won't. I mean, they'll be back. Nothing's ever gone for good because once the productions find out that other places are going to do the same thing, they'll be back. Trust me. They're not like it's not halting. I don't think.
Well, there is infrastructure now in other states, and a studio is going to want to go where they have built their studio. So it's interesting. I think Ben Affleck or Matt Damon was talking about he got a script. It was going to be a really big movie that they were going to be a part of, and then they said, "Oh yeah, we're going to film in like Timbuktu, somewhere in the middle of nowhere."
Right.
And he said, "I'm not leaving LA for that," and the movie was scrapped.
Yeah. No, there's that whole thing too, and I understand Like, well, he's shooting the Odyssey right now with Christopher Nolan. They're in
Oh,
Greece,
yeah.
so he'll choose nice locations, but not go out of the middle of fucking nowhere.
But that's what I'm saying. Like you can build this
yeah.
infrastructure in other places, but if the talent doesn't want to leave LA, and if we're locked into the talent, then LA is still the hub because that's where everybody lives.
Did you see that bullshit that No Film School was talking about? Rob Lowe's fucking rant about Rob Lowe's got this like super fucking right wing rant about how it's easier for him to film his stupid fucking piece of shit game show in Ireland, basically.
I heard about that.
Yeah, and I'm just like, you're an idiot.
That's ridiculous.
He's lost his fucking mind. And he's lost his mind for quite a while, but this is like the deep end mind. And meanwhile, he has Adam Fox in the podcast, and he's telling him this, and he's just like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, the look on Adam Fox's face was just bewilderment, because he was just like, Rob, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Like, you're speaking out of context here, And it's not like anyone really goes to an actor for like, political advice. Yeah. But in terms of that was crossing the line.
And talk about absurd. The day of the LA fires, there was a commercial that was released talking about filming outside of LA because LA is a terrible place to film.
Jesus Christ.
It was Matthew McConaughey,
of course,
and Dennis Quaid.
Oh, I'm not shocked. I'm not surprised it's these people.
It's unfortunate. And Dennis Quaid made a huge, push for LA and being home when his house was being evacuated. Mm-hmm. It sounds like a little bit of
It's very much a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
It's just rich people being rich, and doing stupid things. I mean, like, honestly, like, they see people like us with no money making quality work. They get threatened.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to work together. This is why capitalism is failing. Like, none of this is new to me. Like, but the fact that, we can freely do this, and then I can mix match, edit it, put a little tag on there and fucking post it. I mean, that takes no time at all. I mean, really, everything I think is going towards YouTube.
Yeah.
I really do. I'm like very confident in that bet, just because like the more you force people to pay for subscriptions that are like unnecessary and unwanted, the more they're going to find, their fix elsewhere.
Yeah.
The more they're going to want independent content that's not, that's made by the people and not made by these like corporate decisions, That's what's really the sad part about all of this is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't mean to go down these roads.
No. It's interesting. Because our industry
it affects us. I mean, you've lived here your entire life, right?
I have, yeah.
So like when you've done this and you've been, exposed to, Hollywood, as it is pure, right? When it was in the 90s and everything like that, when it was still being shot on film, we didn't have this digital war nonsense. You still had the whole like, it felt like it was more natural. This just feels very unnatural what we're dealing with now.
I think it's different. I think we're seeing technology shift, and
well, that's huge. Yeah.
We are seeing the same. My teacher in high school, my film teacher in high school used to say, "There's no new news, just the same news happening to different people."
Yeah, he's
absolutely right.
Yeah.
We've seen cameras become less expensive,
right,
with DSLRs,
right,
and then they became even less expensive. Your phone. We're seeing the price of everything go down. Like TVs have gone cheaper, which is why TV shows became more popular, because people aren't going to go out to the movies and watch a feature film, like spending $20, $40 on an event, when they can sit at home and watch their big screen TV and have their soundbar.
Right.
And then TV got too it wasn't sustainable. They were putting too much money into streamers, and streamers weren't making enough money back, which is why they've started to fold. And with AI, I think that we are seeing a return to the basics, where only the elite are able to make films, but the technology has become cheap enough with AI, if you're into fully generated videos, to make your content without a studio system. If you wanted to create a monster that's hanging out with a guy in his room, it wouldn't be very hard to use an AI avatar and motion tracking to create that today.
Sure.
Where it would take a studio to be able to do that. I'm not saying... I think that where Hollywood is lacking is story. Because the stories haven't gotten better, they've just gotten bigger.
Exactly.
And the problem that Hollywood is facing now is they're moving out of California because they can't sustain their model here. It's just too expensive to film here.
And they're going to infect other places.
Well, they're not even going to infect other places. They're not making good content to begin with. So if a bad film...
shit content elsewhere.
If a bad film shoots in LA or films in New Mexico, it doesn't matter. It's still bad content.
Right.
If you, Jonathan, are able to make a really good feature film here, and you find the audience and you find the marketing and everything, you will create an entity. You will find revenue. You will find your place. And the studios are just like, they need a sure thing in order to... I'm sorry, I'm talking out of my ass.
No, keep going. Seriously. It's true.
It's so frustrating.
It's this whole idea of, they want or they expect a return on investment, but sometimes, in my opinion, you're just not going to get one the same way you got one in the past.
Yeah.
Which is why more filmmakers are always saying, instead of spending $10 million on one movie, spend, $1 million on 10 movies. That's never going to change. Only they can't do that because the marketing budget becomes the bigger problem of the whole thing,
Absolutely.
These guys have dug themselves into such a fucking hole. They can't even write themselves out of it, even if they tried.
It's crazy. I think about all the funding that's being...
you just telling me all of that, I know all of this stuff, but it only really, enhances what I already know, and it makes me more depressed.
It's interesting. Back in the day, the studios took risks because they didn't know what was going to be popular.
Of course.
And
now they know too much.
Now they know too
much.
They
can predict what's going to be popular, is what you're saying.
They're getting funding from companies that want a sure thing. So they're trying to make a film that will appeal to everybody, as opposed to a specific niche.
Right.
A Steven Spielberg movie is probably the most commercially successful choice that you can make. Michael Bay is not going to appeal to everybody. Robert Rodriguez is not going to appeal to everybody.
Right.
So those people are having trouble finding funding because they cater to a unique audience. And the studios are like, well, we need a sure thing. Let's remake blah, blah, blah. And people are sick of it. So I think with the price of equipment, the price of TVs, technology, everything getting really low, we can create content that people actually want to watch. And the studios are going to say, oh, it was successful. Now we can acquire it, because they don't have story development. They don't know story.
But you see all of this as an advantage.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I think that we are coming up on an independent film wave where independent filmmakers like us will be able to generate content, create content. We are our own studio, and put it out and find money. That could be on YouTube. It could be Vimeo. It could be TikTok. It could be any of these platforms.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Because, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's in our grasp. It's just, trying to find that audience. How do you do that?
It's all the content.
It's the content. It's there's a lot going on, right? It's a loaded thing, right? It's the content. It's a lot going on. It's just... how I need to know, okay, now I need to move those fucking lights somewhere else. It's the little things, right? The little details in how we, shape our whatever we're working on. Canvas, we tailor our work, whatever we do. Because, I think that, the reason why I try to film all of these is to improve our clickbait as well. Yeah. And, I think that, the platform, it's important. But it's also, again, works in progress. It's all trying new things and taking swings so that the next time it looks better and it sounds better, and the next time it can be better, you know. Then you have like little, you know, you change the music. I mean, you'd be surprised like little things with adding different theme songs and shit does. It's fucking insane.
It changes everything.
But it's like, it's bizarre, but like, again, like, you know, we are David versus Goliath in this whole thing, right? Because we're fighting a studio system. We're basically going against these grains where it's like, I mean, you know, a couple of episodes ago, you know, I had a guest, we talked about like Sundance and the fact that it just seems untenable, you know.
It is. It is, but that's not the type of content that we are making, or we're gearing towards. You were talking about audience, right? I think we find our audience based on the content that we're producing and seeing what those people like. I'm a huge believer in doing audience testimonials, feedback. After a project. You've been really. I've always wondered. I love it.
Like, I'm curious. I mean, I know that it's like, it's interesting because it, like, you know, opens up feedback and everything like that, but it also like sheds a light from other people, like why they should hire you and things like that, or why they should watch this.
Possibly.
Is it always hard getting those audience feedbacks though?
Not even a little bit.
Do people always just they always comment for you, or is it just because you're a nice guy?
I put a lot more emphasis on audience feedback instead of filmmaker feedback, because filmmakers are going to look at it from a technical standpoint, and my choice would have been this, as opposed to an audience member who enjoys consuming that content will say, you know what, if I saw that in the theater, I think I'd be okay.
Right.
I think if you are able to find your audience and you're able to create content, we're not David versus Goliath. We're creating our own ecosystem, our own community around ourselves. And it's not going to matter that the big studio is making Wicked. If we pull in more views than Wicked does on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, I mean, in time that might happen. But
there are viral videos that are getting millions of views.
No, I know that. But I'm saying, like, you know, I mean, the whole world has seen Wicked.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The whole world has equally seen the viral video, you know, insert one here kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But no, I know what you mean, though, because it's like, yes, like, you know, in terms of, like how do you, okay, well, let me ask you this. Because let's go back real quick, because there's just a lot to unpack already.
Sorry.
With just how we view our whole world. So, you know, born and raised in Southern California, after you graduated high school, what was that whole atmosphere like? Because, you know, it was kind of like things were changing a little bit, you know? I mean, we were kind of like becoming, you know, as we know, like, you know, we said DSLRs are coming out. So were you kind of like, was film always just something that you focused on? Was it your field of study, or was it one of those things that you just wanted to do, but you didn't understand what channel or what path to go down?
So I've been very lucky and unlucky that I knew I wanted to be a filmmaker since I was in 6th grade. I knew that going into middle school, I was going to take the film classes, and in high school, I was going to take film classes. And
all AV, audiovisual classes.
Yeah. I was in all of those. I was on sound crew and everything.
Oh wow! Oh man,
super nerd.
We didn't even have that in my high school,
dude.
Yeah,
I was very lucky.
We had drama program. That's all I was in.
Drama? I applied for drama. I didn't get in.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So you just, what did you guys do? Like morning announcements and stuff like that, or what?
We did morning Okay, so middle school we did morning announcements, and I think it was live because YouTube wasn't a thing.
Right. That's cool.
And then, high school we did morning announcements, but we had like our anchors. We filmed that on Thursday, and each person was given a segment to do a story on.
Wow.
So we had a 2-minute run or a minute run.
Crazy.
It was great.
Oh, wow.
It was so much fun.
That's so bizarre. So, I mean, did that count as a grade?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
No
we had
kidding.
an after-school class.
Oh, wow.
Where we earned extra points. Credits.
How did that work? Like, you just...
There was an ROP program, and it counted like an extra class. And the show had to go out on Friday. So we were at school in high school. We were there until like 11 o'clock at night. Oh yeah, we were so lucky.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So then you get through that high school, same thing or no?
So high school gave me a portfolio, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna go to Long Beach State and then transfer to Art Center, and didn't get into Long Beach State.
Why Long Beach State?
Spielberg went there.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, I was following in his footsteps.
Trying,
I wanted to be Spielberg, man. I wanted to be Spielberg. I saw a lot of myself in his films. I remember, I went to Hebrew school, man. Like, we knew about Schindler's List very early on.
Oh, no, of course.
And,
yeah. But no, he is the classic archetypal filmmaker, you know? I mean, my grandmother, same thing, but I wasn't interested in Spielberg. I was more so interested in, like, as I got older, Scorsese, but like that didn't happen until like I was like high school even, You still love Jurassic Park.
Oh yeah.
You still love like, E.T. was my favorite movie of all time. I still think that's his best movie,
Yeah, it's one of them. I think he's done some really good.
Oh yeah. It's hard to gauge because he's all over the spectrum, right? He's all over the damn place, but like no, he's aside from like his war movies, which are pretty obvious, his other movies, like Jaws, forget it. You know what I mean? Like
Jaws
Close Encounters, oh my god, you know, like so. But that's that checks out. So, but also you're a SoCal boy.
I am.
So you're getting a lot of doses of this pumped in. They're shooting his movies as you're going to school.
I remember somebody in my acting class saying that they were an extra in War of the Worlds. And telling me about how it was a nightmare, but it was also like super cool. And
well, did that ever occur to you to go down to Central Casting and do that too, or no?
So I have that story.
Oh wow, okay.
So I get to college, and I didn't get into Long Beach State, obviously. So I went to PCC, and I thought, okay, then I'll transfer to Art Center. And at PCC, the head of the department couldn't give me the time of day. I walked in with a portfolio, and he said he would look at my portfolio. We set a meeting. It was like weeks later, and then during my time, he was socializing with a student outside, and then he came back in, and it was like 5 minutes before class. He watched some of my work, and he said he didn't like it, and I said, "Great, if you don't like it, tell me what I can do to improve." And he said, "I don't know." And I was like, "What the actual?" So I got the biggest outlet that I had was the TV department at PCC.
Interesting. Okay.
So I said, okay, I want to do more acting work. I'm gonna take my headshot and I put it up on the bulletin board right outside the TVR class. I had a ton. Almost every filmmaker who was looking for an actor found me. I had a portfolio. And then somebody said, you should do central casting. And I was like, what's central casting? And they said, yeah, you'd be an extra. It's fine.
Oh, my God.
And so I was like, okay, well, sure, why not? So I signed up for central casting, didn't follow through. About a week goes by, and I get a phone call. And it's somebody that says, hi, I'm at central casting, and we're looking for somebody to be in a zombie movie. And I'm like,
so this is when they were still doing it, and they were calling you.
Yeah, you had to call the number.
So you're the second guest that I've ever had that told me the same story.
So this is crazy.
This is still like, this is like what, 2011? 9.
This is 2009.
Right? Yeah. So phones weren't even hip yet. They weren't even hot.
No. But
none of that was even.
And I was like adamant that I needed as many numbers in my phone as possible. I'm getting ahead of myself. But,
I love this. Yeah, these are great.
So I sign up and I get this call. You want to be in the zombie movie? And I'm like, well, my agent said that I should do more Disney. And they're like, we'll pay you. Like, and I had no concept of what this was. And they said, take a picture of yourself in natural light and then send it in. Yeah. Okay, cool. I send it in and they go, you got the job. Be at Hollywood Boulevard at 4 a.m. And I'm like,
oh my God.
Okay, what's going on? And I show up and it's Zombieland.
Wow.
I am photo doubling for Jesse Eisenberg on Zombieland. And my first job, it's 4 a.m. They put me in a yellow Hummer and I drive down Hollywood Boulevard. we stop in front of the Chinese theater. I get out. I shoot 2 zombies with a rubber shotgun. Grab a map. Get back in, and we drive away.
Get the fuck
The first
out.
Job
Wow.
ever. And I was like, this is easy. This is awesome. This is so easy. Of course, the next job I did was get him to the Greek, which was a 4,000 person call.
Jesus Christ! Wait, so
At the Greek Theater.
Yeah, okay, it was that.
It was
shit. Yeah.
it was
It was
terrible.
the big show.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's yeah.
It was.
See, like, yeah. I mean, God, they're not all perfect, right?
No.
You know.
But I had a taste of it, right?
Of course, yeah.
So
yeah.
everywhere I went on a set,
That's so crazy.
I was doing tons of background work,
Love
and
it.
everywhere I went, I met an actor. And at the end of 6 months, I had 2,000 people in my phone, and I was like, okay, now I can do casting because I have somebody of every look. You know,
Male and female.
Male, female,
Yeah. Were you
body
telling them,
type.
Were you telling them too? Hey, I'm making movies on the side.
Exactly.
Hey, I'm still working.
And
on
I'm doing
projects.
extras casting.
Right.
So I found I did LA Connection Theater, and I met somebody who was a student at Chapman,
Oh yeah. Okay.
and so they were looking for actors for their films, and I said, I'll cast your film. Like, I'll bring you like thousands of people if you want. You just need to have me on set.
Interesting.
And they were like, okay.
Interesting. Yeah.
So
I'm
was
starting to see the gears.
Yeah.
Yeah. Working.
And this
Yeah.
is before, and then I found a job working for Gotham Casting. Gotham Casting casted background for award shows. So we would do the MTV Movie Awards, Do Something Awards, all of these shows that don't
Oscars
exist
even?
anymore. Not the Oscars. Oscars were kind of their own animal.
I see.
But
Emmys and everything else, right?
Everything else.
Everything else. Grammys.
No, not even Grammys.
Oh, okay.
So
we're
those
talking,
two.
Those two are separate.
So I
Yeah,
worked the
okay.
People's Choice Awards for like 8 years. And
That's so
the people
crazy.
from the People's Choice worked on Oscars, and then they worked on Grammys. People's Choice was the first award show of the year.
Oh wow, interesting. Okay.
But I got a taste of it, and I had all these people in my phone.
Were these paid gigs too, or really? No
At the
kidding.
time, dude, my hustle. I was working at Costco as a sample lady.
Uh-huh.
I was also doing background work, and I was doing Gotham. So on a day that I had all 3 jobs, I would do background work. I would drive to Costco, sleep in my car for 2 hours, change, go in for Costco, work an 8-hour shift or a 6-hour shift, and then I'd go home and I'd go on Facebook and I would cast for these jobs.
Wow,
It was crazy.
that's bizarre.
That was my
Yeah.
20s.
Yeah. I mean, but you know what though? At the same time, like it sounds like a lot of fun.
Oh, it was
But
fun.
it's also like, where does the time go? You know, like how did you compartmentalize all of that? You know, I mean, you're just hustling straight up, going, and it's not even like you're going from gig to gig. You're going from a gig to a job.
Yeah.
That you have to show up to. You know, you have to be on time for because you're scheduled at a certain time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot. That's hard. I mean,
was
did you ever
lucky.
Yeah.
I was lucky that I had Costco as a reliable income job. So
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Costco was 5 days a week. It was really my regular job, and
Everything else
before
is
minimum
just
wage
kind
went
of-
up, I was
yeah.
making $11.25 an hour.
Did it ever work like you were doing Costco in the morning, extra work at night? You know, did it ever
Sometimes
work like that?
I tried.
Did you ever have to take? I mean, you had to take off, presumably, right?
I didn't take off.
You
no.
never took a day
no,
off? You
because
just
I made
switched-
more money at Costco than I did doing background work.
Oh my god!
I know.
Well, because you're not in union, but also yeah. And
So
regularly
Zombieland
too.
though made me SAG eligible, and then
Uh-huh.
I did Social Network, and I got to see Fincher work.
What was that like?
Oh, it was fucking amazing.
So wait, when they were shooting the Palo Alto scenes, or when they were shooting just a lot of like, were they doing
My
every-
scene got cut. I was in the Jewish fraternity.
Oh wow, that's funny.
And
Okay.
I brought a yarmulke with me. So they were like, oh, wow, we got to feature that guy.
And he brings his own stuff, his own wardrobe
dude,
and
yeah.
props, and that's so.
It was
wild.
crazy. So that working on that set as an extra changed my whole look at directing. I'm in the background. They filled the whole place with smoke. And David Fincher is directing by saying, all right, move your head a little bit to the right, now do it again. Move your head a little bit to the left, now do it again. And he would make these minute changes to the actor's performance and do really long takes. And he directed me and he said, lean in a little bit more to the chair, now go again, And I was like, oh my God, every frame is a painting. Every frame is important. It is a work of art, and you can direct that way. Some of what he did is actor abuse. I maintain that.
Yeah,
because
no, I know where he's coming from with that too.
after 70 takes with a professional actor, God, I think you've got your footage.
Sure. Yeah, because I mean, you're really only going to use how much of that, you know?
The editor is going to pick the first one.
Yeah. But I mean, there's a guy with unlimited time, unlimited money. I mean, the days on those, you're pulling like hundreds of days of a shoot. You know what I mean? Like, and that's being realistic too, you know?
It was fantastic.
But I mean, was any of this better than college?
Very much.
Yeah.
All of it was better. So then after...
you were getting on-the-job training, like for real on-the-job training.
Legit, I left PCC and I started doing background work and PA work. I transitioned to PA work on reality shows.
Did you regret leaving at all or no?
So I didn't regret anything. I wish that I had known that there were 3 industries at the time. There were feature films, reality shows, and award shows. And you can't work on one and then move into another. And there's actually more. Then there's commercials, and then there's indie films, which were totally not feature films, like Social Network. They were all different animals, and the work that I was doing didn't translate to anything else that I wanted to do. So I stopped doing that kind of work. I went back to school and got a degree in screenwriting because I knew nothing about screenwriting. And then I graduated and I had no idea what I was going to do.
Oh, wow.
No clue. I graduated. I found out that I was qualified to work for AT&T or in a movie theater. Like, I could work. That's what my degree was good for. Nothing.
Oh, I see. So, yeah, why am I going to school?
Yeah.
And I could see the options. I mean, but you didn't think, like, it could be better than, I mean, it could be better than that, right? Like, you have a degree at that point. I mean, it's got to be better than nothing.
So, I think you and I have talked about this a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, the degree didn't do anything for me.
It's the connections that you build from the degree, right?
That's the only reason to go to film school, because you'll learn more on set doing the work than you will on campus.
Trials and tribulations, learning to fail, things like that. It's like you actually pick up these little skills and hone in on it. Yeah, no, trust me.
Think about it this way.
I've seen it with my lighting, dude. It's gotten better just learning how to fail.
Exactly.
You know?
But even more, like, you're on these professional sets, you can watch people who are professional doing their job instead of your peers who don't know what they're doing their job.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's totally different.
That is a great point, because I mean, yeah, when you see like even the lingo, right? They don't even talk about half of that stuff, you know?
Oh, definitely.
It's that if you're lucky to actually work in that environment. So, but maybe that's when it's going to change. I mean, do you think that like the fact that like more people are just, going and I don't mean to put this in an unprofessional saying, but like being ignorant and shooting things ignorantly, where it's like, hey, let's just put things here. I don't know why we do it. We just do it. Like, that has more merit and success, I think, than actually,
It's so funny that you brought this up, because I had this debate with somebody that I know who works in post.
Right.
He said, Sam, you're not a professional editor. And I go, what do you mean? I've gotten paid to edit. And he goes, no, but I'm working on feature films like Anora and blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
And I go, but how is what you're doing more professional than what I'm doing? And he said, but I'm working with bigger budgets. And I go, so it's the budget. What is the qualifier that makes something professional and the other thing not professional?
Exactly.
And I said to him, like, I don't know all of the ins and outs of what you do,
right,
and the tech,
right,
but I can learn,
right,
and I'm putting out more content than you are per year.
And
he's a director who also works in post. He's a good friend of mine.
Sure, yeah. But I mean, at the end of the day, what's the yardstick that you're measuring?
Exactly. So
also, aren't we doing like in the same field, just different markets? Like,
exactly.
This whole thing exists on the same.
We're on the same plane.
Of life, yes.
And if you're talking about like putting up your lights in your studio like this versus like doing it on a soundstage, how is this not professional?
Well, there's certain things. I mean, for one, I could lift those two things, right? But that's such a nitpicky thing.
This is professional.
It works.
This is professional.
It works,
we are on set right now.
We're talking.
We are recording a podcast.
The worst thing that could happen is this thing stops recording.
Yeah,
that's
please
the
don't do
worst
that.
thing.
Yeah.
No, but that's the worst thing. And trust me, it's happened before.
Yeah.
You know? But it's one of those things where it's like, I know where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Because, where does the whole line of professionalism change based on what exactly? You know? Because a lot of people would argue it's the budget. But
I disagree.
But I
Completely.
don't. I honestly don't know, because then, you know, my roommate comes home from fucking work and he puts on YouTube, and I really do think the majority of things that are being made are going to end up on YouTube anyway. The majority of things that we watch are going to be watched for free, because you can't keep up with the $5 a year Netflix bullshit. And, you know, dude, I flipped
People
the gasket.
don't like ads.
Dude, my Disney bundle pack, which the only thing I watch out of that is ESPN stuff, but it's bundled in there, so I can't undo it. And I don't really notice it, but when they said that they were going to charge me more money, I fucking lost it, because I'm like, how much is too much? Is it never enough? What are you going to do with it, Disney, at the end of the day, right? You know, like,
they're trying to pay for the channels that nobody watches.
Right, and it's complete bullshit, you know?
Yeah.
Same thing with, like, Paramount Plus, AMC. I mean, really, it's all really, like, imploding on itself, you know? Very fast, and I don't know when the cap is going to hit on this thing, you know?
I think that we're seeing a trend towards social media. I mean, obviously social media is more important in people's lives than feature films and TV. People,
it plays a big role.
It plays a
in a
huge
lot
role
of people, and how people, but, you know, more importantly, like, I think how people view the illusion of grandeur that is one person's life.
People don't like ads.
Nobody, exactly.
So when you're on social media, it's hard to tell sometimes if it's an ad or not. and I think that that's where people are going. And I think that we're going to go back to the early days of TV where it was product placement. They would stop in the middle of the show. They'd move over to, like, the side, and they'd say, by the way, buy this P&G, you know, dishwasher soap. It's the best. And then they'd go back to the drama because it's built into the show. We're going to see a lot more product placement. We're going to see a lot more, like, brands creating their own content. Imagine the Coca-Cola show, where they just interview musicians. I could see that being a thing. And you know what?
But why musicians?
why musicians? Because music is easy to sell.
I mean, I'm just curious, like, you know.
So I worked on...
like, this is Coke synonymous with, like...
No, Pepsi is, actually.
Is it really?
Pepsi's synonymous with music, because they have other entities in their portfolio, other companies in their portfolio that are involved in music.
Oh, I had no idea.
Doritos. I believe Doritos are PepsiCo.
Interesting.
I worked on the Stranger Things Doritos concert series. So if you scan a bag of Doritos, you got access to the Go-Go's and a bunch of like 80s, 70s, 60s musicians. Yeah, just putting on a show with Stranger Things. It was amazing, dude.
Interesting. But that's so wild, dude. That feels like ages ago at this point. You know, that feels like a million years plus ago. You know,
imagine though, that's the type of content that people will watch, and they don't care if it says Doritos at the top. Like, they're just watching their favorite bands. And
it's a good point. I mean, makes you think, right? Because I mean, it's just like, it's so simple, but also, like, it goes very deep, and, like, the whole like how people consume things. You know what I mean? Because they're never gonna stop doing that. It's just gonna change hands a few times, and then, you know, how we watch things. I mean, we're watching things on our phone, right? So it's just like, you know, who's to say that, like, you know, nobody makes money for the rest of their lives doing this thing?
I think,
but is that what it's all about? I mean, that's my counter argument.
Let's take a company like Coke, right? Coke wants you to keep drinking Coke, and the only way to keep doing that is to get in front of eyeballs. So that's why they put out commercials. That's why they put out concert series, whatever they do, right? If people's attentions are focused on social media, they're going to start creating social media posts. They're kind of following wherever people are going, and people don't want to watch Coke commercials. They don't. They want their show, right? So they're going to be tuning into social media because they don't like Coke ads, and then a Coke ad is going to show up because they want that. Now, if you get too many ads on social media that look like ads, people are going to leave, and they're going to find something else, whether that's AI or hanging out with friends in an event space or whatever. So those advertisers are going to have to find a new way to advertise.
Interesting, yeah.
And that's the name of the game. I think we are seeing a transition where people are sick of ads, or they're sick of these streaming wars. They want content catered to them that they don't have to pay for.
Right.
And that's social media.
Yeah.
That's YouTube.
Yeah.
And I guarantee when you and I become studios and we're putting out our own TV shows, whatever, on YouTube, we're going to need sponsorship, right? So then brands are going to come to us. I'd be very happy to say, buy Coca-Cola.
I'm still trying to figure out like what, the sponsorship thing for like podcasting realm, how that works, because I don't even know how any of that works.
There's a forum. Or a website where you can sign up. And
really?
And then brands find you and you talk about
really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
We can talk about it.
Huh. I had no idea. Because it's like, I know that like a friend of mine who's doing a podcast too, he was telling me about like how, I've just been emailing people. I'm like, who the fuck are you emailing? Like, how are you, like,
that's a thing though. Yeah. Oh no, you reach out to the brand on Instagram or go to their website say, yeah.
Oh my God, I'm doing it all wrong. Man.
Most of my job every day as a director is reaching out to as many people as possible saying, hey, do you need a commercial? Do you need film work?
Who are you reaching out to though?
I'm reaching out to business owners.
Like local or like...
Yeah, local business owners, real estate agents, filmmakers,
and what's the
like actors who are also writers, and
right? And what's the usual like rate of exchange? Like, how's that working exactly? Like, are you getting a lot of no's? Are you getting a lot of people go, I've never thought about that? Or
my approach is different. If somebody comes to me or if I went to somebody just cold and I said, hey, I want to do a commercial for you, they kind of say, well, I don't need one. I'm going away. And I wouldn't hear from them. What I do is I approach them and I say, what are you working on? Well, tell me about your world and what you're trying to generate. What are your goals?
Sure.
And I'd love to help any way I can. And that could be any of my skill sets. It could be writing. It could be directing. It could be anything. And I can just tell them, look, I think you're cool. I'd love to be able to support you in your vision.
Yeah.
So I let them kind of lead the conversation, and then I fill in the gaps.
Interesting. Okay. Huh. Interesting. So, like, my next follow-up is, have you worked on any of these, like, said commercials? Or,
Yeah. So I'm working with somebody now who he needs marketing for his business.
Got it.
And so I said to him, tell me about your business. Tell me where your trouble spots are. And it's all about addressing pain points.
Sure. Right.
So everything has a pain point. If you're an audience member and you're sick of politics, you're going to go to a movie where you get to escape. So that's when a horror film,
I just never thought
or
about
a comedy film,
it's just mind blowing because I'm like, I never thought about that shit.
So we as filmmakers are told, do you think as the audience, do you try to deliver what the audience wants, or do you deliver what you want? And I think that it's a balance. You have to know what the audience wants because you're delivering a product that they're going to consume.
Or in this case, what the other person needs, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you're if you've got a bunch of people that like horror movies and you're going to make a horror movie and nobody dies, like, you're not delivering on your promise to create horror for them. Like, that's not what they want. So I think as the audience member, what would you want to see if you went to a theater and you saw this piece of content, and deliver it.
Yeah, no, I understand
that.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm just like more so like the whole art of staying motivated and finding something, and you know what I mean, and throwing like figuring out like what it is like you need to or like what you want. I don't know who you want to work for, or like who approaches you. You know what I mean, for a job or anything like that.
I mean, I'm not right for everybody. Right. I work on tight time frames.
Yeah, of course.
I definitely need a reply within 24 hours.
I guess where I'm coming from with that is more so like, is it the right thing to do? Is cold calling what's necessary, or is it the right thing to do in terms of just, trying to get the word out that you are a filmmaker? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, that's one way.
You want to actually work on their stuff and get,
You need a few different ways.
I mean, it's very true. It's just, it's funny because, like, yeah.
But you need
I
a few
thought
different.
Of it that way.
But you need a lot of different ways,
right?
Like how do you pitch your services? You can do it on social media. You can say, "Hey, DM me, and I'll send you this ebook."
Right.
Or you can meet somebody at a networking event.
Yeah. Do you think that like it's all getting shifting towards social media?
I think
the
social
way that
media
we advertise and the way that we actually look at things, and it's all kind of becoming that vertical format, so to speak.
Vertical format's already there. Right. People are already,
but it's like a one-stop shop,
Yeah, I think that's already kind of where we're at. Mm-hmm. People have become one-stop shops, but they're also, I think, in trouble because they're not making money off of the content they were creating. Now they're trying to sell. Well, now they're trying to sell education.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
We used to be able to make movies, and people would go to the theater and see those movies. Now, people are consuming content in different ways. So those same people who were making that content are like, well, if I can't work as a filmmaker, what am I going to do? Teach. Okay, buy my ebook. I directed 20,000 different commercials. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what the trend is. But I think people.
I mean, if that's a master class, this is a long form master class.
Exactly. But I think people on social media, at least I'm getting fatigued.
Oh,
everybody says
sure.
that they're an expert. Everybody says that
they. Oh no, I'm already gone, dude. Yes, no, and this. I mean, people can view this podcast as a master class or whatever the hell it is. I mean, if anything, like I try to find it to be a motivating thing, you know. But for me, it is really hard to stay motivated. Just because like things are starting, things look dystopic and apocalyptic, and I can't help but feed off of that energy. Do I continue to write? Do I continue to make stuff? Do I continue to film shit? Absolutely. I have so many things coming out, but it's also one of those things where it's just like, unless it's like motivated in some way, shape, or form, you know what I'm saying? Like, most people don't want to do it. For me personally, I'm just getting tired of that because like I feel like there was a time and place where, even like when DSLRs were new and when our eyes were bulging at the opportunity, like it was easier to get people to rally with you and to make something with you. Now it feels like it's just become a little bit of a chore. Maybe that's myself being Eeyore here. No. But I don't know if it's being if that's necessarily like the vibe that we want to be selling per se.
Can I ask you a question?
Huh?
Why do you make movies?
Because there's nothing else I want to do.
Okay.
Rudimentarily, like that's probably like the most baseline answer I can give,
So
off the top of my head.
The way I view filmmaking is we are artists.
Right.
Some people use paintbrushes, other people use colored pencils.
Right.
We use cameras. So I'm always painting. I'm always trying to get my opinions, my understanding out there, and
yeah.
I think if something in the ethos is bothering you, your response is to make a movie to answer that. Change
your mindset, change your mind kind of thing, right? Basically,
I don't have a problem with motivation because I know that my life is going to change and I'll have another story to tell or another question to ask.
Right, yeah. I feel that too, Yeah.
I think that it's
the evolution, basically.
I think what you said about what's going on in politics, all of these things like is that
still
going?
Okay, we're still going. Yeah. No, they do play a huge role. They do play a big part. Yes, but no, yeah.
I think what's going on in politics, whatever's happening in the world that's making you feel, disgruntled. Those are things that you have to leave outside. Or okay, let me take a step back.
No, I get it. I get it.
When I enter my office, I wipe my feet on the mat, and all of my personal problems are on the mat, and I do my work.
Right.
And then when I'm leaving my office, I wipe my feet, and my problems come back. I need my problems. I need the problems of the world, or the problems that are going on in my life, to feed into my art, but it doesn't have a bearing on creating the work, because creating the work is a different mindset.
Absolutely. No, I know what you mean. Yeah. It's almost like you need to get this thing out.
Exactly.
Basically, you have to get it out there because it's on your mind, kind of thing, or else the world's going to explode.
Exactly. And I have to make money, so I need to find a way to
do it all.
Yeah,
all
and
three.
to work with other people and
Right.
to tell their stories. If somebody comes to me and they say, I want to make this movie, and they show me a really bad story, I'm gonna say, you know what, I have some notes. Otherwise, I don't think that this is the right project for me, because my brand is.
Does it ever feel like
style.
overwhelming for you though? Or
Oh yeah.
no?
Oh, I'm overwhelmed all the time.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm stressed out. This Aura ring that I'm wearing is because I'm stressed out all the time. I get to see how stressed out I am in real time.
How stressed you are all the time? Like, is that why it's always black? I mean,
no. It's not. It doesn't change color. But,
okay.
But I get an app on my phone, and
that's funny. That's funny. But no, it makes sense. So yeah, you gotta because otherwise, I mean, what is it that keeps you doing? Like, why do you set this shit up if you're not, you know what I mean? If you're not motivated to do it. But also, no, it's interesting though, because I have conversations with people all the time. The reason why I'm angling it that way is because like some people that I know, they're always like, well, we need, it's all about, survival and all this other bullshit, and I'm thinking, well, no, it's just like money's a good tool to have so you can do these things, but it doesn't really define you or your character,
No. It's a good goal to reach for.
Yeah. It's just frustrating when, they make it all about that. Because it's really not about that. It's really just about taking big swings with the art, One would hope,
If you're going into survival mode every time you come to work, you're not creating art.
Exactly.
You're bringing your problems in with you.
Right.
And for those people who are listening, I would recommend getting a really good mattress. Getting a really good mattress. Get the best sheets you can. Make yourself a bed where at night you know that you are going to sleep, and that is going to be your comfort zone. Mm-hmm. And then you go back into the world. You're fighting the system.
Yeah.
Then you come back.
Metaphor. Yeah.
Find your place. When I graduated from college and I had no idea what I was going to do, I moved back home briefly. I was scared to death.
Oh yeah, I bet. That's a big.
No idea.
It's a big thing.
And then I left home. I couldn't live at home anymore, and I got an apartment. And the first thing I did was I bought a really nice mattress. I bought really nice sheets, and I said, whatever's in the world that I need to deal with, the chaos of the world, I will deal with that, but then I'm coming home to sleep in my kingdom.
So true. No, that's literally why I bought my bed and why and all the things that you have with it too, the little things that like, and it's true too. I mean, you can't really take your work with you per se.
If you are, then you're not sleeping at night.
No, exactly.
You need to wipe your feet. Exactly. You need to leave.
It's a fucking war zone out there. Like, no matter how you put it out, it's a nightmare out there. And honestly too, I mean, even with the projects we have, like, I have like, I don't know, I've become desensitized to the like just the whole framework of like how we talk about what we do in a way, where I still find aspects of it very exciting still, what I mean? I still love talking about it, I still love doing it, but like there's a part of it too where it's just like, oh, but is it, what I mean? And then you start getting into like the trigger warning bullshit and the fact that everyone just seems like a fucking
filmmaking is a job just like every other job. There are going to be good days, there are going to be bad days.
Sure, yeah.
There are going to be things that you like making and things you don't like making.
Of course, yes.
And I'm in it for all of that.
The long game
yeah.
is the best, you know? Yeah, exactly.
I find enjoyment even from really crappy projects.
Yeah.
I do, because I know how lucky I am to be a part of them.
That's the big thing, too. Yeah, I always try to remind people, like, hey, you know, we're doing something that's most people dream of doing.
Yeah.
You know, even the worst day is better than the best day, or worst day on set is better than the worst day at the office, right?
I totally agree.
You know, and the best days are always just like the highlight of everything. And, you know, I've been very fortunate too to walk off with a lot of better days than most, you know what I mean? But
You're
like
lucky.
well, it's just like playing with the gear, you know? It's just like that has just always been the high point, you know? And then like filming things, or like filming bands, or like just going to these events and then seeing like, you know, all these people. I mean, I just did a show Friday where, you know, they wanted a second shooter, so I had to get my buddy to do it. And we had a great time, but it was like the best feeling to me was watching him shoot and shooting,
That's awesome.
but watching him shoot while I'm shooting, and then realizing that he's on the singer and I could be on the other guy, so we're literally like shooting across from each other. And there was like a moment there where I'm just like, this is like, nothing could change that feeling of that, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, of how awesome that felt. But like at the same time, I don't, you know, there's a very small group of people who are going to be like, that's fucking awesome, like who are going to love that type of, you know, story. But to me though, it's really like not the type of things that we're making, not the type of content, or the fact that, you know, one thing's a comedy, one thing's a musical, one thing's a horror movie, but it's how we feel when we're near what we're doing, and how lucky we are to be, you know, be in a traveling circus and to do all this shit. And it's fucking bizarre and it's fucking crazy.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. I feel like it shouldn't really be a thing, you know, because it's too much of a privilege to hold on to, and to be able to hone a craft like that. You know, when you talk to normal people, they just go, I never thought you could do that. Or, what? You're crazy. No, that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I tried telling this to somebody who like worked in finance. They never thought that they would ever meet somebody who was like doing their own thing independently. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, that's all the people that I meet are doing their thing independently.
Yeah.
Or want to do their things independently, just don't know how, you know? And 9 times out of 10, my response is always, you don't know how?
Yeah.
I thought everybody kind of figured it out, you know?
I was
everybody
not always
should
very
know,
good at it.
right?
Oh, I was not very good at it. I mean, I think that
Because
working on your own is, I mean, we're
you learn
running
skills.
a business. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, you learn like how to, you know, build like a shot criteria and shot list and things like that.
Okay. I was thinking about
No.
the business side of it.
Oh, no. I don't know what the fuck that is. I don't know what that is. That's why I'm like, you can get sponsorships for this shit? Like, I don't even know what that is, you know?
I'll help you.
Yeah,
for
one
sure.
of these days we'll go down that path. But yeah, no. But I'm talking like, you know, when it comes to picking something up and then filming with it, you know, like some people don't even, like they know how to shoot with their phone, which brings us back to the iPhone thing, right? But in terms of like editing and stitching things together, you know, and the fact that there's like these hard cuts that just happen, you know, like people don't really think about that kind of stuff.
They don't have the foresight.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Or the bandwidth is
Or
a
the
big
bandwidth,
thing.
yeah. Sometimes
So,
they don't have the patience.
right.
I know a lot of filmmakers who don't cut their own work because they don't have the patience for editing. And I'm like,
Who's their editor? That's what I want to know.
They have friends other friends that they pay to edit. And I wish that I had
God, I
the
wish
money
I had
for that. But
Fuck, I wish I had that.
But now, you know, I only picked up editing because I wanted to understand how to communicate with an editor. And then it was like, I got to keep my cost low because I got to keep putting out content. I've got to learn how to edit.
Yeah. No, it's such a trippy world, man. I mean, fortunately, like, I don't hate editing.
I don't either.
I really
don't like it.
Yeah, I just don't know what, like traditional editors, you know, pro editors. Let's call it that, right? Professional editors.
Jeez.
In quotation marks, you know.
Bothers me
Like
so
Thelma
much.
Schoonmaker, right? Who's only done Marty movies. Like, what separates her from you? I mean, I know what separates her from you, but like in reality,
No, what
like,
separates them? what separates anybody from anybody? I think the only criteria that makes you a professional is getting paid to do your work.
Did you ever hear that quote Marty said? He goes, "I like hard cuts because a lot of information is in between the cut." And I'm like, that's the funniest thing I've ever heard. But it's so true though. And it makes me go, and the neurotic person in me go, quick, what's the information on the line?
Exactly.
You know,
real missing.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, what are we doing? We cut between there. What's in the middle? You know, I'm just like, seriously, like I think about that a lot because like sometimes like I would, okay, like for instance, like that Spaceballs joke where it's like the dissolve and everything.
Yeah.
And he goes, nice dissolve, you know? And it's just like, you know, because you see it, right? Because it's drawn out, right?
Yeah.
But I used to think that I was legitimately crazy in like in the cuts and just watching for the time when the camera would pan and it would cut from interior to exterior or whatever the fuck. I always thought that there was something literally there that I was missing because I was blinking at the time that the cut was happening.
You're gonna laugh. So I saw Pleasantville for the first time. Have you seen in middle school?
Oh,
but it changed me because they have a scene where the character goes to the bathroom and there's no toilet in the bathroom because it's fake, right?
Right.
And I was like, oh my god, characters don't go to the bathroom. I didn't realize. Like you watch a Bruce Willis movie, like whatever, and
so true,
nobody's going to the bathroom. It's like, how are you holding it for 3 hours?
Yeah, Kiefer Sutherland in 24. God, he's dehydrated.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Oh my god.
It's just like, holy shit. No, it's so true. Did that break your mind?
It did.
It did.
But I also kind of I had a weird view of filmmaking because of something that happened when I was a kid. I was watching TV and a police chase came on, and it was on the freeway near my house, and the TV was like in a helicopter, or the camera was in a helicopter, and it was following this car, and it was happening in real time. So as the sun was setting on TV, it was setting in real life.
God.
and the camera didn't cut away. They didn't stop for commercials or anything. And I was like, oh my god, everything that happens in the box is real. And I was like, where? And then when we watched Wizard of Oz growing up, I was like, how did Dorothy get inside the TV? Like, what is going on?
It goes from black and white to color. Where's the black and white version of life?
What the heck? But the crazy thing is, I also noticed, you remember the shot where Dorothy is like opening the door and then it opens up onto Oz and it's all color?
Of course, yeah.
So the way they did that was with an actor switcheroo. They had an actress, they shot it in color, and they had an actress dressed in black and white or sepia. And she opens the door. How do you dress
someone in sepia?
The makeup. Tons of makeup.
Holy
they had the wardrobe,
fuck.
everything. So she opens the door and then she goes out of frame, and then Dorothy, right, actually comes out, and then she's in color. And that's how they did the swap.
Wow.
I remember as a kid watching the stand-in going, that doesn't look like
what an
Dorothy.
Absolute fucking nightmare.
Isn't that crazy? No, it happens all the time.
No, I know it does. But just like conceiving that, I mean, you're really like that's talk about ruining the illusion. But yes, no, they had.
I noticed that.
I actually was thinking like, you know, probably, you know, and they're going to steal the idea. I mean, I think that they should go right ahead. But, well, because, you know, they're making Wicked. Wicked 2 comes out later this year. I think it'd be a great idea if they made a Margaret Hamilton, like, not a biopic per se, but Margaret Hamilton story about, like, making the Wizard of Oz.
That would be interesting.
And how fucked up it was. And how hard it was to do, and how it inspired you. It'd be
There's got to be a documentary somewhere.
No, I'm talking about like kind of like how they did Babylon. You know, you just do like a pro-union movie about, you know, featuring like Margaret Hamilton's the protagonist, but then you feature like villains like Louis B. Mayer and all those guys. You know,
the Munchkins.
Oh god, well the Munchkins are that's tragedy. That's just tragedy. You know, the fact that they all killed themselves and but
I don't think that one's true, but.
I heard several different stories about.
I heard that they were really obnoxious on set.
Well, yeah, they were all alcoholics.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they were like older. Well, what they did was they casted a lot of, and this is coming from Gilbert Gottfried's Amazing Colossal podcast, which I highly recommend. Oh yeah,
I haven't.
What? Oh god, you would fucking love it because it's all about
culturize me.
I need like literally like. literally, like, the best part about, Gilbert Gottfried's podcast is the fact that he died a few years ago, but he's still putting out new episodes, but the episodes they're not new per se. They're like archived episodes or encore episodes that just sound new because, it's a bunch of shit that, like, it's died out a long time ago, But Wizard of Oz and the Munchkins is something that he's very, very particular on that, and like what a lot of weird isms, you know what I mean? Like he likes to talk about like James Bond villains who were Jewish, all these weird things, right? And there's only like 2 of them or 3 of them that were in this whole line of movies. That's weird. Fascinating. But like the funniest thing was that the Munchkins were all alcoholics. Yeah. They were all circus performers.
I didn't know that.
They were all like, they were all older circus performers who like kind of phased out. And because like that was a big thing, they just gathered them from that. But like a few of them did, like one of them did hang himself, not on the set though. I think that's an urban myth. Yeah. But he did kill himself. And then the other ones kind of like, just like either faded out into obscurity. One of them maybe died of alcohol poisoning, but that was a true thing. That's weird. And, Margaret Hamilton's third-degree burns. Her skin was tainted by the paint. Like, but making movies back then was like, I mean, that was hard. Like, that wasn't even like, they went, I mean, so many workers' rights issues, violations. That's why we have the unions today, and the fact that the studios are trying to fight against that. It's just fucking blasphemous, you know, because really people have legitimately died making these projects. They still continue to die.
And nobody's talking about National Geographic photographers.
Oh, they get mauled and shit. Yeah,
they die all the time. And, and it's really scary. We need to protect them.
Yeah, because they go into these war zones and they go into these like areas where like these actual like legit predator animals fucking stalking you.
Even like, these shows where they're like on a boat in the middle of nowhere.
So like, I met a guy doing one of those. He did the fishing show out in Alaska. The Alaska fishing show. He was 6 months. And he had a family too.
Oh God.
Yeah, he had.
No, thank you.
Yeah, could you imagine being gone half a year? Oh, and it's usually the time he's gone, June to December.
Really? Yeah. That sucks.
Yeah. Oh, so it's just like that was the thing. It's just like you're there when it gets real fucking cold, dead of winter, catching tuna.
No, thank you.
It's like
no.
That's a dumb fucking. But people watch it and it pays. I'm just like, what are you doing?
Does it actually pay?
He paid him.
How much did he make a good amount?
I mean, he lived in a house.
Okay.
Well, but again, wife and kid, like I don't know, right? Yeah. But like you're gone for 6 months. Like that is a endurance test.
Yeah.
I mean,
would not be interested in that.
Like when we were doing, don't worry about that one. When we were doing,
you want to share the light?
No. If anything, just let that one die too. It'll just be,
Okay.
But like, if anything, like, I mean, I don't know. I do agree with what you're saying that the medium is altering itself. It's evolving. It's changing into something where it's like, I kind of miss the good old days where you could just hang out in a city and then work in that city as opposed to, I have to travel for work,
Yeah.
But that's what makes it exciting. That's what makes it more bohemian, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just, it's not everybody's cup of tea at the end of the day.
I feel very lucky that my entire network is here. I mean,
my network is here now. I don't have anyone really on the East Coast.
I feel very lucky. You and I have worked on a few projects together.
Yeah, I love working on stuff together.
With you, it's amazing. I learn something every time. Mm-hmm. You're really dedicated to the craft. Like you're not like, all right, I'm gonna hang out and take a long lunch or something. Like you have really good work ethic. You're smart. You approach the work from a storyteller's perspective, and it doesn't matter what job you're doing.
Right.
You're going to give it your all.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I mean, I try, It
doesn't appear that way. It doesn't appear that you're trying it all because that's just who you are.
Oh, thanks, man. No, it means a lot. Yeah.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. No, and also, too, like, just having me be involved with people, I mean, like, because when I pick up from you is, like, when I'm working with you, it's a different type of way of, like, like the nuance is there, right? It's a different type of way of actually looking at how I can carry myself with certain projects. So it's like, you know, you're like, why would you have a $3 light? And I'm like, well, why would you have like little splatter fucking prop pieces that you can just throw on the ground, and then there's a person bleeding out, and then you look on camera and you go, oh, I see that. You know what I mean? It's just like these little.
I never
things.
questioned your $3 light.
No. But it's just like these
just
little.
to clarify.
No. But it's like we have these little tools, and you know we use them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We have these little things, but like, you know, at the end of the day, you know, it's not about that little cheap thing that you buy, or that little, like, you know, expendable that you have. It's about how you use it to get your point across. And to me, that's all filmmaking has ever been, you know?
Same, yeah.
I mean, when I was working on One Tree Hill, you know, what amazed me was that we were working on just in this fucking weird town. You know, it was a really tiny fucking town that happened to have a studio that was built like kind of like last minute by a guy who, you know, was this crazy Italian dude in the fucking 80s. And he was just like, you know, I want to bring shit over here. And then they did. Everyone criticized them. They weren't super popular, you know, which is why I'm like, no, it'll never catch on. And the fact that they're still trying to, you know, like do this shit. But I digress. I mean, you know, One Tree Hill, it was like on stilts, you know, it was like a Jenga set for the most part, you know. Yeah. But like it fooled everybody.
There's so much waste on set.
Oh no, absolutely.
We really don't need Hollywood doesn't need all the equipment that they're bringing in. We can achieve the same thing with the equipment that we're using.
Right.
Like these lights are awesome. They do exactly the same thing.
Everything got smaller and smaller and smaller. Yeah. I mean, before, you know, now you're not even gonna need light in some cases, you know. I mean,
it's funny that you mentioned that, because I when I was working, I've worked on really big sets where, I mean, you know, they bring in like a huge crane and they bring in tons of lights and stuff, and then they're filming inside. Sorry, I just spit.
Oh, you're fine. I don't care.
Then they're filming in like a living room.
Yeah,
and you're like, you could just turn the lights on, or you can like get a softbox and put that right next to the actor.
Yeah.
What the hell?
I think it was in American Cinematographer that ironically a British cinematographer said that their new job with adding, like, you know, the specialized sensors to like the RE and the Red Dragon and all these other new cameras coming out. It's now that they're so sensitive to light that they're having to add shadow and add negative fill.
Interesting.
In areas that they never thought that they would need, because it's just like they needed more light back then. Like film just required more light, you know, to surface area. Now they're having to detract from it all. And it's opening up a lot of possibilities, but it's also one of those things too where they feel like they're cutting corners in some cases because they're not having to do it the traditional way.
Interesting.
And I always thought that was kind of cool, but now I'm thinking, oh man, it's only going to become better and better and better. Yeah. Like I was filming a show in a theater for a friend of mine, and I can't tell if the phone footage is better than the camera footage, or the camera footage is better than the phone footage.
That is so cool.
I can't fucking tell. I'll show it to you because I'm just like blown away. I'm like, wow. They work simultaneously. Yeah. Does it really matter? You know what I mean?
So I got into an argument with my friend who does post, and he said,
"Is the same guy?"
Same guy. Yeah. Well, he
I like
says
this guy.
He looks at a lot of footage, right? He looks at a lot of different cameras. He tells me, yeah. And I said, what do you like camera wise? And he goes, it depends on the project. And I'm like, okay, what do you think of the Blackmagic? And he goes, terrible camera, awful. And I go, okay, what do you not like about it? And he goes, well, it just looks like this. And I'm like looking at the footage, and I go, well, what if they just put a different lens on it? You know?
Right.
And then he goes, yeah, you really can't tell, you know, that and the Alexa, you know, they're pretty interchangeable. And I go, well, why aren't they using the Blackmagic on commercial sets? If the Alexa, so the Alexa is the standard for color space, and if you go through the Oscars and you look at all of their films, like the Alexa has won more Oscars than any other.
And for people who don't understand what we're talking about, this is the RE Alexa. This is a newer line of the. It's a digital version of the film version camera that you can expect to see in most movies that were made in the 90s.
And it's crazy. It's not even 4K. It's 2K.
It's 2K?
It's 2K.
No.
It's not a 4K camera. It does 2K.
Are you sure about that?
Yep.
That's not the max.
I believe, don't quote me on that, but he said it's a 2K camera. He said it's a 2K camera.
You know what,
which drives me crazy.
It's
but anyway,
interesting. But yeah, okay. No, we'll
you
digress.
really can't tell the difference.
And
I like the black magic. I do. I think it has a very unique look, and it depends on how you edit it.
It's true, though.
And how you treat the footage.
I mean, you're not wrong there because my colleague at the Whiskey, he'll use GoPros all the time.
Yeah.
And even though they're 1080, his whole thing is, well, fuck it. They're going to turn it 1080 anyway.
They are.
And I'm like,
they
fuck,
are.
Man, you're so right. It doesn't matter, you know?
Remember they used to use those as crash cams for a long time?
They still do.
Yeah. Now they use reds.
I know, my
because
God.
Because that's how God, I
crash
wish I had.
camming a red, could you imagine?
They do that all the time, though. They do
Insurance
that all the time.
Probably pays for it. Fucking stupid. So they're going to cancel on homes and put pros on crash cams?
Basically.
I mean, you know what though? I mean, that just goes to show you like where we are as a species. You know what I
my
mean?
God, yeah.
We're just so our priorities are so skewed.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
it's so funny.
I love the fact that you lost some tea on that.
Yeah, I did. I'm literally teeing myself.
But no, show off the mug, yeah, baby. But no, it's and you know what though? I mean, but that's the fun thing about what we do in doing this. Because a buddy of mine does a similar podcast, but on the Florida Panther stuff,
Yeah.
And we were talking about it, we were going through our workflow and everything, and I was telling him, trying to tell him everything I know. Kirby, if you're watching, this is the way to do it. But you have the way, you know what you're doing, It's just literally all you need is, and he's using bare bones stuff.
Yeah.
Literally recording most of his shit, I shit you not, with his phone.
Yeah.
But not just doing simple recordings like what we're doing here with separate mics and GarageBand. He's just doing on a thing called StreamYard. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
So it's so funny because StreamYard is the free version of Riverside. Do you know what Riverside is?
No.
Riverside is it's not a free version, but it's not necessarily a trial version either. It's just a higher quality thing where it's if you pay for it, pay to play service. That basically, if you're doing a podcast from home. If you were in another state, or if I was interviewing someone in New Hampshire or whatever,
got it.
It
puts all the pieces together for you.
It can film it, it can record it, and then make you clips and shit like that. So it's basically an all-in-one kind of thing, right?
That's cool.
It has more AI integration built into it. Right, which it's AI for better. It helps the humans, okay?
Okay,
as opposed to the humans taking advantage of it. No.
Yes.
This one helps the humans, but StreamYard is the other version where it's not as it doesn't really just creates a long form version for you. But Riverside is so pissed off that StreamYard exists.
That's funny.
That it literally says when you click on Riverside and you go to their thing, on their header and footer, it says better than StreamYard.
That's funny.
Or not your father's StreamYard or some shit like that, because it's literally they're so competing with that shit.
Yeah.
That it's just oh wow.
Oh yeah.
And it goes to show you that simple is the best way to do it. The fact that you can literally just have 3 people converse on one thing, because nobody watches this for the cuts.
Yeah.
This isn't something that I'm going to sit through and go cut. Fuck that. They don't watch that shit. They watch it just for the whole, all the information. Maybe because they're eating ramen while they're having lunch or some shit.
Do you use that on this?
What do you mean?
Do you use a Riverside on this?
I will eventually, but I try not to. I've been lucky with everyone kind of coming to me.
Okay.
So it's I've been doing. I used to go to them. Mm-hmm. But I stopped doing that because it was just so much shit to lug. So now they come to me.
Okay.
And that's it. And so,
That's cool. That's fine.
We do it from here. I mean, but one of these days what I'll probably end up doing is reserve studio time.
That's cool.
And then do it that way. But those are going to be very timed because, here it's we're coming on 90 minutes already.
Are we really?
Yeah.
Holy
it's
smokes.
bizarre. I know, right? It's crazy. So,
wow.
But I'm good on time for a little bit. So
I have to get back to edit.
Am I holding you now, or are you good?
Well, I mean, we can hang out for a little bit, but
yeah, okay, no worries. Yeah, no, this is all good stuff. So.
Yeah,
but and we're coming to the end of it anyway. But it's like I really do think the simpler the better. And even when I like play with this footage, it's going to be one camera, one audio. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like you can't get any more simple than that. It's just. But again, it's the workflow. It's how you're attentive to all that, and a lot of these things kind of go by the wayside.
They're tools. So, they're tools. Exactly. And if you are a filmmaker, you can make a film off of anything.
For real.
You can use a DSLR. You can use a phone. You can use whatever. And it's all different.
Why do you think people judge the style of camera as opposed to the style of content?
I don't know.
Because this has been a problem ever since I was in film school. Since that we actually started like doing shit with like post mini DV. Yeah, it was always the nitpicky stuff with the DSLRs. So then it became
my last corporate job. Yeah, where I was a filmmaker in house. They used to say, "Oh, we could do these on an iPhone," and I was like, "Well, what do you need me?" And like, why have I been hired
for real?
And I think the difference is and. This is a very unpopular opinion. I think that the camera matters to investors and to the general audience.
It's so true. Yes.
If you want to secure funding by showing off your work, you need a good camera. You need a good camera, and you need... I'm
so glad you mentioned that, too.
There's one other thing. You need production value. You need props. That's it.
Right.
That's all you need. You don't even need a good director. Your actors can suck. Your editing can be terrible. That's how you secure funding with a piece of content.
Transforming the space.
Yeah, but you and I both know that the iPhone can be really versatile.
Sure.
And it can be fantastic. I was hired to make a concert series for these kids. Long story short, my wife's school has a music class. Or lots of music classes, and there were too many students to fit in the small amount of time that they had for an assembly. Uh-huh. So they wanted to record them, and so I said, well, what kind of camera are we using? I was actually thinking about bringing you on if they had a budget. Seriously, and they said, no, I just use your iPhone or whatever, and I'm like, okay, so this is what we'll do. Yeah. I put my iPhone on. And I had a small stand that I used as sort of my tracker.
Sure.
And I just followed the kids around the stage, and I'm filming.
Wow.
And it came out really well. And it turned out that the school burned down. Right? You know about this. My wife's school burned.
No way.
Yeah.
No, you didn't tell me that.
Elliott Arts. Yeah.
No.
So this was the last thing filmed in the auditorium.
Fuck. Wait. You're telling me. The school that we filmed that one thing at.
It's burned.
The whole thing.
My wife's classroom, that wing, and the auditorium is gone.
So that entire side
is gone.
Damn, dude. So that fucking area, it went that far?
It's gone, yeah. And we're not allowed on campus.
So what do you do?
Well, now we're at a different campus.
Oh my God.
My wife has had to recreate all of her curriculum.
And I love it too because literally she said to me that one day, she goes, yeah, nothing ever happens here. It's Alhambra.
Altadena, yeah.
Yeah. She's like, nothing ever happens here.
It's great.
I mean, fuck, dude.
It's great. Yeah.
I mean, fuck, dude. They got ravaged.
Yeah.
And like, are they repairing it or are they waiting to the end of the year?
I don't even know. Oh
my God.
They're talking about they're talking about rebuilding and
so anyway, so they're filming the whole thing and everything's the last thing that would be shot.
So I have 30 minutes of footage. I have a 30-minute concert film that I shot on my iPhone.
That's cool.
And I turned the in-between shots black and white because if you're a parent, you want to see your kid getting onto the stage and getting off the stage, right? That's what's important, not the actual performance. You want to see your kid like waving at you and being really happy. So that's what I did. I filmed the actual performance, but I also filmed in between, and I turned those shots black and white. So I have sort of a black and white fade up, and then them preparing for their appointment. Cool. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Okay,
all on an iPhone. It's fucking great.
Pretty remarkable, man.
I'm so proud of it.
Yeah, as you should. Oh yeah, absolutely. Like they're so ridiculously insane.
And you've done pickups with your phone.
Oh, dude, I've done more than that.
I've done pickups with my phone.
Yeah.
You were shooting COVID films with your phone.
We were shooting all types of shit. I mean, dude,
that's amazing.
I shot scenes in Doug on the phone. I shot all types of weird things on the phone, and it's funny too because like when you're shooting on that thing and you break out the phone, it's just like, oh my god, it's lighter, it's just like it's almost harder to shoot on the phone
sometimes,
and, because when we were doing oh god, what was it, Sugar Babe. Like I learned a lot on that little thing because just like how to hold the damn thing.
Yeah.
But like what you're able to do with it and the fact that less was more. Mm-hmm. I mean, sometimes I have a problem with like the mini, like the looking at the screens on cameras and phones and everything because I always think that it looks shitty. I always think that, I can't really see this blown up in a certain way,
Sometimes, yeah.
But then you see it on a computer screen, you're just like, holy fuck,
You can also get access. Like you can use the camera and you put it up to a wall where you couldn't actually put your other camera. Like it's small enough that you can do a fly-in shot. These are amazing shots that you couldn't get with a larger camera.
No, absolutely.
I prefer smaller anyway because when I'm working with actors, you don't want a big camera in their face. You want a small camera.
We were shooting, because there's this project that I need to pick back up, but we were shooting it all on the phone in 4x3.
That's wild.
As more like a test on vertical, really.
Okay.
Because like instead of shooting vertical, you shoot horizontal. You just cut the sides down.
Yeah.
So then you're able to watch it vertical on a phone.
Do you put tape on like?
No. I've been looking at the graph. I've been trying to focus everything kind of in the middle.
Okay. Yeah.
So on the grid, but it's funny because you could still do a lot in 4x3 just with with a widescreen kind of thing and treating it like a widescreen. Yeah. And even 9x16 when I edit some of this stuff, I'm amazed of how much space I have going up and down. But like, the thing is that with the phone, people feel less guarded.
Yeah.
They feel more guarded when they see more shit, when they see...
It's more casual.
You're holding lights. Yeah, this is way... Like, holding a phone is way more casual. So when I go film shows, like, ideally what I would do is have, like, a phone and a couple of GoPros catching just the drums and, like, little nuances that the band does while they're performing on stage. Yeah. But that way it doesn't detract from everything.
That kind of brings us back to what you were saying before about what does the audience want.
Right.
So if you went to a show, if somebody paid you money to go to a show and then you filmed it on your phone, are they getting that value? Of course they're getting that value, but do they feel like they're getting the value?
Exactly. No, when you tell clients that, they get fucking weirded out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They get really weird.
I always include it. I never tell them it's in the package.
Yeah.
But
you get what I mean? Yeah. Like there's a certain amount of showmanship. I knew somebody who used to take out a whole bunch of C-stands and just set them up on set, even though they didn't need them. They would just set up the C-stands and the lights and whatever because it made the client feel like, oh man, this is a big production.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's the idea that the illusion, right?
Yeah.
Like that's so true.
And shooting choice.
And how you're getting, how the investors are looking at using the camera.
Exactly.
Things like that, right?
But when I tell people that we're working on choice, we had one camera and a reflector in the car, and we were waiting for the light to come through the window at the right angle on the right road.
Oh, jeez.
We got so many compliments on our driving shots. You have no idea.
Yeah.
And low budget filmmaking
because it's the sun coming in.
It's literally the sun.
Flares. Yeah, there's nothing else happening.
We shot the turnaround in our car shots on different days.
Yeah,
on different roads even.
Wow,
it's crazy.
That's why you always shoot near windows.
Yep.
Like always.
Yeah.
That's so cool, man. And you never would know, too. Like, it's funny in how, the environment of what you're shooting, like, the audience doesn't care, like, how long the road is or where it goes.
They just want good content.
Because they know, like, they're smart enough to pick it up where you left it off. Like, they're smart enough to be like, oh, I know that's a road. Oh, I know that's a house. Oh, I know that's a thing. I don't need to know the journey of how you got there.
People don't. That's the thing. I think some filmmakers are. Amateur filmmakers will look at we'll say, well, we didn't have enough time to get that shot. Well, the audience doesn't care. The audience is like, I want to watch a movie. So,
so
it doesn't
true.
matter. You have to figure something out.
That goes back to my whole qualm about the location in Doug, man.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
and I think about it a lot.
The Hollywood Hotel?
It tortures me a lot. Yeah. Well, just the Hollywood Tower
Hollywood
building,
Tower,
but like, you know, I mean, the trivia of that is like that building is like the Tower of Terror.
Yes.
You know,
it is.
But like, you know, again, like only I know that it's a fucking derelict building on Franklin Avenue. The audience doesn't know that, but the audience doesn't need to know that. The audience just sees him looking out at his city, right? But the shitty part is that when you walk outside, you can hear the cars driving on the side of the road. So does that scream high budget, or what does that necessarily scream?
Oh,
you know,
I can tell you, working on as an extra, some of the things, and as a stand-in, some of the things that we had to do. I mean, you'd say, wait, that's a okay. Here's an example. Here's an example.
Please, yes.
I was working on Bones, right?
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
was a photo double for TJ Thine. I worked on the Prius episode, and there's a shot where the Prius is driving down the road and it starts to veer off to the side, and their lane assist readjust the car, right? Our permit allowed the camera to be in the road, and it expired. We were running short on time. So they were like, okay, well, we have permission to be on the road, but we don't have permission to put the camera in the road. So let's wait until the cars pass. You know, this is an active road.
Oh my
Wait until
God.
cars actually pass, and then we'll go.
Me.
But that's filmmaking.
Sure.
And if
problem solving.
If you think about like what makes professional and what makes it unprofessional, I also worked on another set where the cinematographer. This is like a 5-camera show on ABC. It's gone now, but the cinematographer said to one of the camera guys, "Come on, man, shape up. It's the red button on the right of the camera, of the thing you're holding." So these types of comments are done on professional sets and amateur sets, if you want to call them an amateur set.
So
I think
true.
the only qualifier is, are you getting paid or not? Because the audience cares about the content, not how you made it. They really don't. Filmmakers
It's so
care.
fucking true.
Here's a little trick for
that.
anybody who's applying for for film festivals. Here's a little trick. Film festivals are full of filmmakers, not audience members. Filmmakers care how the movie was made. That's why you have Q&As.
Don't worry about that. That's
okay. So
that's my camera. So if anything, it's just on you now.
Oh God! Do you want me to?
No, it's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's dead. This battery.
Oh, it's dead?
Yeah, it's battery.
Okay.
Anyway,
well, I'll wrap it up.
Film festivals have
So
it's all good.
film festivals only
have
care about
filmmakers.
how the film is made.
Right.
And they're only full of filmmakers, not audience members. So if you're trying to get opinions, you're trying to get noticed, you're trying to get the general public to see your work, it's not at a film festival. It's online.
That's so true.
So when you're creating your camera pack or your marketing material for a film festival, talk about how it's made.
Right.
If you want to put it online and you want people to actually like it and enjoy it, tell them the story. Film festivals don't care about the story. The people who are watching the film care about the story because they want to make sure it's good. Everything after that, after you get in, it's all about how it's made. There's your little bit.
No, that's so wild, man. That's a good way to fucking cap this off, because I think I never thought about it that way, actually. That's really really wild to think about.
Think about it. When you go to a film festival, all the networking is other filmmakers, and it's not always filmmakers, right? Sometimes the filmmakers only go to see their own work on the big screen, and then they leave.
Yeah, and then they leave.
Such a disappointment. When you're
seen
looking
so many
at
times, trust me.
When you're marketing a film, think about what you want out of your film festival run, out of your film circuit.
Sure.
Do you want money, right? Are you going for cash prizes? Are you looking for awards? Are you looking for networking? If your answer is networking, you don't have to win the festival. You need to place. So you just need it to be good enough that you can get out there. And if you know that your big, epic is going to be expensive, make a smaller one, because you don't need to spend all of that money to place and do your networking.
That's such a good point. Yeah, that is such a solid point,
right?
too. Wow.
And then if you're going for awards, what kind of awards? So the story behind Choice was, we knew that we had a good film, but it was an average film. We also knew that we were going to do very well with cinematography and with acting. Not so much directing, not writing. And editing. Editing we were going to do very well because we did audience feedback. That allowed us to only submit for film festivals in those categories. And we won Best Actress. We won Best Editor. We didn't win anything. I think we won one award for Best Director, but it didn't matter.
Right.
We were going for a numbers game because nobody was going to film festivals during COVID.
Right.
My goal was get as many awards as possible. We won over 30 awards. Sounds great, right? It is great, but the whole idea was to get as many laurels as possible so they're really small on the poster. You can't read the names.
Wow.
That was the whole idea.
Why would you do that so they couldn't read the names, though? Why would you make the laurels so tiny?
So we were during COVID. And we were thinking, okay, we were gonna.
It's a numbers game. I get that.
So the whole idea.
But are they just like the neo noir film festival?
So here's what happened. We went into making the film because the clients wanted to win Best Actor awards. Okay, great. When COVID hit, nothing was open, and I said to him, let's change tactics because this is actually an opportunity. COVID meant that we could apply for more film festivals out of state who had virtual options. And we had more access. We didn't have to spend money on parking, on drinks, on tickets to the festival. We had complete access.
Wow.
So I said to him, if you had a budget of X amount of dollars before, those dollars are going to go further. And some film festivals made their entry fees free. Because they knew nobody was going to go anyway.
That's fucking crazy to think about.
So in that way,
you can just submit to anything.
And here's the thing. You build momentum, right? So if you know that if a film has a whole bunch of laurels, you assume it's good. So when we have a whole bunch of laurels, it doesn't matter what the categories are. It doesn't matter what the film festival is. We're going to get the next festival because we have the last one.
So wild.
So that's how we marketed it.
I got you. Yeah, that's a fascinating way to do that. Okay. And that's literally like a page out of like Rebel Without a Crew, That's what Robert Rodriguez would do. No, literally. I mean, it's like the whole thing of like he actually when they were filming, he like cut a trailer together as they were filming.
I think that's a great idea. I think that if you're going to make an independent film today, and I'm working on this now, you and I can talk when we're off the pod. I think that you film the scenes that you want to make the trailer for first. Then you release the trailer. Then you release the BTS while you're making the movie, looking for funding, and then you're building the train while you're on the track.
Right, and I mean, I wish there was like another way I can clone myself to do half this.
Oh, shit. Dude, I want to do that too.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I just don't want to listen to the jokes.
Right, no, literally, if you could just have another version of you just to make something, and then you're filming something, and then the other version of you can edit something.
Yeah.
But then that person would want like his own, you know what I mean? Like they would just start to want their own independence.
Switch? No.
Yeah, exactly. So, but man, it's always a pleasure, Sam. Thanks for coming on,
dude.
Man.
You're amazing.
Yeah, no, likewise, brother. What are your handles? Like, we'll get a hug in a second. Okay. Yeah, when we're not separated by microphones. But what are your pluggables? You have any handles?
I'm at Sam Felman, Felman. I'm a man, not a fel. And you can look me up online, samfelman.com. You know the whole spiel.
Yeah.
SAM, F like Frank, ELMAN.
And do you use YouTube or do you use Vimeo more?
It's Vimeo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any reason why?
Because the prestige of having better quality videos is on Vimeo.
I got you. Yeah.
And I don't have the subscribers for YouTube anyway.
I don't either. I don't even know what I'm doing on there.
but honestly, YouTube is better with algorithms. So if you're going to if you want your content to be seen on more.
Yeah. I think Vimeo has a place for sure. It's just one of those things where like the people who are in it are in it, you know, and they've been in it for a while. So.
Cinematographers like Vimeo, film festivals like Vimeo, but YouTube is a better for outreach.
Yeah, I don't even know anymore, but it's so wild. I mean, everyone's on YouTube, you know. I was hoping that Vimeo would actually pick up, you know.
I mean, it has its own community.
Yeah. No, it does.
There's a lot there.
There's a lot of interesting things there. A lot of like good movies are on there, you know, like movies that are otherwise like not banned, but you just can't find them anywhere else. They're there, but yeah.
And commercials. There's a lot of commercial content.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. All right. Well, I'll have to check it out. But
It's
yeah,
good work.
But good talking, man.
Dude,
you know,
you're
always a
awesome.
blast. Thanks, brother. You too, man.
Do I get
All
up?
right. That's
I can
it.
get up.
We're pretty much wraps.
You're awesome, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks for being part of this crazy ass idea.
I'm happy to support any crazy ass idea.
Let's do it.